Allow me to extend a warm welcome to all the viewers on the internet and around the world. It is sunrise on YouTube, morning on Facebook, noon on Twitter, midday on Threads, afternoon on Twitch, sunset on Instagram, and evening on Rumble. I am your host, the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, and the master of the deceptive arts. We are broadcasting live directly from the sanctum of solitude and the citadel at the end of time. Good evening, everyone. I am the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme. I'm the Phantom Menace, he who remains, and the master of the deceptive arts, and I've returned once again with another video to be the unsilent voice of the vasectomites. And today I wanted to talk about exhaustion. And there's an article that we're going to discuss, or read rather, that discusses what is termed emotional exhaustion, which is like emotional burnout. And I wanted to talk about it as well as the effects of tiredness, but more importantly, the importance of rest and why resting is so important. Ironically, it wasn't a topic that I wanted to discuss, and I only wanted to discuss it because I had gotten to a point of a certain amount of, I would say, exhaustion. I think it was a combination of things. Running 10Ks every day, yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it. But also endeavoring to make videos on a daily basis, as well as continue my regular life. I think I underestimated the rigors and the requirements of what it would take, in truth, to be the voice of the vasectomites. And it was only when I got to the point of tiredness beyond my regular tiredness. So I know myself fairly well. And I know that there's a point where I can feel myself getting tired. And I know when that point is. So I prepare my rest day, especially for exercises, to accommodate that. So I know that at around day 5, I'm pretty tired. And day 6, I'm exhausted. And day 7, if I do a 7th day, I'm risking injury, right? So I know to rest once a week, at on a minimum, right? I can of course stretch it out to 2 days or even 3 days, and then return. But I knew that I was exhausted, not just because I had reached the point where my regular rest day wasn't enough, but I was at a point where, especially in my legs, which I use for running, and I pretty much work on my feet all day, I do get a fair amount of opportunities to sit down, but I find that it can be counterproductive. So most of the time, I'm on my feet, moving around, or delineating, or explaining, correcting, all kinds of things. So when I started to, and then of course I come home and run 10 kilometers. At work, because I keep my monitoring on, I haven't run today, and I've only just been at work. And I'm looking at my monitor right now, and it is at 450 calories. This is what I've burned today, and I haven't done not one scrap of exercise. I've also taken around 4,200 steps, and I've traveled almost 3 kilometers. This is just walking around the office. Almost 3 kilometers. This is really on average. It's just around 3 kilometers. It could be a little bit higher on busy days. It could be a little bit lower on not so busy days, but it's really in and around 3 kilometers, and it's really in and around 450 calories. That's what I'm averaging just on a normal day of work. Then I gotta come home and run 5Ks, right? Which doesn't take long, but it does take out it does zap a lot of energy. So I'd reached a point where my muscles are aching, and mentally I was starting to become a little bit cloudy, and then I started to make mistakes. But you see, I'm aware. I'm aware that when the muscles are tired, they hurt. And when the brain is tired, you make mistakes. And I noticed that things that were usually simple to do and easy to do and would take a certain amount of time, a short amount of time, they would take twice as long, maybe even longer to do, and still not done to the same satisfaction, not to the same quality, and simultaneously not to the same standards, right? It felt like energies that naturally flowed easily through me, right, and freely through me, were suddenly stagnant and sluggish, as if like a plug. You know, when you're running bath water and you let it run through the bath, and then you put a plug, and then suddenly the water wasn't flowing anymore, right? And not only that, there was like a backlog of energy. So on the one hand, the energy is piling up, the exhaustion is piling up, but on the other hand, there's no energy to flow through to allow that energy to be replenished. Simultaneously, it just makes it worse. So it's like a combination of increasing tiredness and then decreasing energy supplies, right? And then the one flows into the other, rather than just a stream of energy flowing through. So I did the logical thing. I stopped. I ceased all activity and proceeded to take downtime. Right. So I'm not very big into downtime because it can be unproductive, and you're actually losing money when you're not being productive. So I went and ran some errands, right? I went and ran some errands, got some things that I needed, went some places that I intended to go, um, and did things around, around town, around the house, around the neighborhood, and so forth. Which was, I was gonna have to do those things anyway, and I was planning on doing them one thing at a time. But since I wasn't doing anything at all, I figured I might as well do all those things simultaneously. And to be fairly honest with you, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of downtime, and I'm also not a huge fan of that thing called fun, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I, like everybody else, I enjoy a fair bit of downtime. But downtime comes with its own liabilities, right? It has benefits, but it also comes with some liabilities. So, while I like taking it easy, I hate getting back up to speed, right? I hate playing catch up, trying to play catch up to myself, trying to play catch up with other people, trying to play catch up with a backlog of work, trying to play catch up with productivity and supply channels and all kinds of things. And I find that when I do take some downtime, important things that I have to eventually do fall behind. And while those things are within my skill set, the routine, getting back into the routine, into the swing of things, as they say, can take some time, which means that the work is gonna, it's gonna pile up more before it gets less. Things are probably gonna get worse first before they get better. It's worse when I'm catching up. It's one thing when you're catching up to yourself, but it's another when you have to catch up to yourself as well as other people simultaneously. And too much fun, to be fair with you, just requires a lot of energy. Having fun really requires a lot of energy. That's why young people are so good at having fun, because you just have the energy for it, right? It's one thing to have the time as an older person. It's another thing to have the money as an older person. You've seen old people trying to live out their dreams and they just don't have the energy, right? You just don't have what it takes, you know. It's a lot of work to have fun, you know. The activity in itself is it's great, you know. It's great enjoyment while you are doing it, while you are involved in it, while you are active, right? But the bill comes due, and that bill doesn't necessarily have to be financial. There is a physical cost, right? So consider this. In about an 8 hour period, I can be on my feet and travel around 3 kilometers. You're not going to travel more than that in like a nightclub, right? You'll be up on your feet all night, and you'll be in that nightclub for 8 hours, and you'll pretty much burn the same number of calories. But consider the difference in activity, right? Consider that you'll be the same amount of tired, right? But the consequences will be completely different. On the one hand, you'll get paid for your activity, and on the other hand, you have to pay for that activity. And not only do you have to pay, they're overcharging you, right? And but on the one hand, so on the one hand you're being productive, but on the other hand, you're being, you're pretty much not being effective in any kind of meaningful activity, But the one will be considered fun, while the other one is just considered, work, you know, and and each of them has consequences, you know. Each of them has consequences. You stay up all night, now you're gonna need an extra day of rest or two, right? And if you weren't getting involved in like nighttime activities, right? If you were just out all night but you didn't participate in anything extreme, you're still gonna need a few hours minimum of recovery. There's always a recovery required, right? And after a day, or even worse, a night of activities, the results are there to see for themselves, right? What people don't tell you, especially about resting in these activities, is that usually you need a holiday after a holiday, right? Have you ever noticed like how people feel so good when they've been on a night out, how people look so good when they've had a long weekend, or how they look so good after like a vacation or a holiday, right? Especially the people who go on a vacation, right? The people that go on vacation, they come back while they've been outside in the sun. their skin looks moisturized, right? It's not dry like it would be if it wasn't like an air conditioned building, right? Um, their legs and their back seems a little bit straighter, you know. They're speaking with their head up, right? Have you ever noticed like when they walk, their stride will open a little bit wider, right? They'll seem like they're walking faster, you know, and their smile will be more cheerful, more welcoming, warmer, right? And that's because generally people who've been on vacation, they don't realize, but effectively they've lost weight, right? All that health comes because their system, or that perceived health comes because their system is performing better, more efficiently, and more effectively. Because when you start to lose weight, that's what happens, right? So there's like your blood is flowing with less resistance. Nutrients are moving around. You know, when people are on vacation, they are out all day, right? Moving around, doing activities, swimming, walking, hiking, upstairs, downstairs, in the bus, on off the bus, right? All kinds of things, right? Not to mention the nighttime, like, so you're up all day and then you party all night, celebrating all night, going to this place, that place. You're spending a ton of money also, right? But you are being active, right? You are being curious. You're going places, you're seeing things, you absorbing all of this new stimuli, right? And then you become full of adrenaline. Now, then you get the adrenaline and the happy hormones, the endorphins, the dopamine, right? And that all that adds to that after holiday radiance, that glow, which of course goes away in a few days and doesn't last as soon as you've settled back into your regular routine. And in order for you not to have that like holiday glow and that shimmer, what you need to do is like come back earlier. So if you have like a 3 week holiday, or leave for 3 weeks from work, and you then go on vacation, right, in the first week of that holiday, or let's say you go on vacation for 2 weeks. What you need to do is then, instead of staying an extra week and coming back the night before, you need to come back like 4 days or 5 days earlier. So you can unpack, get your laundry done, get your stuff sorted, your souvenirs and all that, get your groceries, get back into your routine. By the time you return back on Monday, or whenever you have to come back after 4 days, that holiday shine is gone, right? You just look like everybody else. Your clothes look the same. You might have still have the weight loss, but people won't be able to tell if you went somewhere. You'll have to actually tell them, oh, I did this and this. Oh, when did you go? 2 weeks ago. Oh, that was quite a while, but still, you know. So you do need a holiday after a holiday. You need rest and recovery from all those tours, all those rides, the islands, the mountains, the restaurants, the nightclubs, the museums, the exhibits, whatever, all of which require you to be on your feet effectively, you know. So you have to be on your feet to get there. You have to be on your feet while you're doing the activity. You have to be on your feet to get back. You have to be on your feet to catch the bus. Sometimes you gotta rush. You gotta run a little bit, right? At the airport, you could spend a lot of time on your feet, right? So in order to do these things, you gotta be up. So you have to be very active, which means you're gonna burn a lot of calories as well as a lot of energy. But you won't realize that you're burning the energy until somebody mentions it. Otherwise, you'll just think that you're just the same. And people will notice that you burnt energy because they have, calories, and that you've lost some weight. I beg your pardon, not energy, calories. They'll notice that because they haven't seen you in a while. You know, when you haven't seen someone in a long time, you're expecting them to look a certain way, and they've lost some weight, right? So that's what people are seeing, right? But despite you know coming back from vacation, and then you need to start again, and you gotta catch up. You gotta catch up to yourself, to your tasks, to the backlog. Resting and recreation, and even downtime is actually important for many reasons. Chief among those reasons is being refueled enough to go further, right? So when you've achieved a certain level, you're gonna need that rest, that break to refuel, to recover, so you can go to even a higher level, right, and be better than what you were before. And if you're already at like your peak performance, at your optimal best, then several timed and untimed days of rest may help you stay at the top, right? Because sometimes rest days come, they bring themselves. You might think, well, I'll be able to rest on Saturday, and then you get a public holiday, and you get Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, right? You need to take advantage of that. you know for an ambitious person like even myself, this may seem counterintuitive, right? And that is until you burn out, until you get exhausted, right? And every ambitious person is bound to experience this. If you keep pushing those boundaries, keep pushing those limits, keep working beyond your capacity, even if you're getting 8 hours of sleep, eventually you'll get a day where you need more, right? And everyone is gonna get to that point. Everyone does, you know. And eventually, when you get physically exhausted, you might even experience what today's article is talking about, which is emotional exhaustion, right? This emotional exhaustion. This doesn't just affect you emotionally, right? Ironically, any type of exhaustion affects you in terms of other ways. So emotional exhaustion can lead to mental exhaustion, which can also lead to physical exhaustion, right? And it's surprising how burnout of one kind seems to negatively affect and have negative consequences on all the other parts too, and other parts of the body, right? Emotional burnout affects you emotionally, physically, spiritually, and in other ways too, you know and it's vice versa. So the other types of exhaustion, they will affect you emotionally, right? This indicates a rare consistency that we have hardly seen across many of the issues that we have covered on this platform. It's rare that one problem can affect all the other areas in exactly the same way as that problem is. So even like heartache can have like a silver lining, but exhaustion does not. Exhaustion is just exhaustion. It just shuts down the entire system, right? And I suppose avoiding exhaustion and burnout, you know, as it hit me ever so suddenly, right? Causing me to take some downtime when I wasn't expecting it. You know, it is always better to avoid it, right? Than to experience it, right? And then it's better to try, when you are experiencing it, to just stop than for you to force yourself through it and then have to recover from it, right? Because then effectively what you'll be doing then is just making things worse. because you should have stopped when you should have stopped, and you went further and you hurt yourself, or you made a mistake, or you caused a problem, and now you need to first fix the mistake or undo the mistake, and then go back and put in the initial action that you wanted. Effectively, you've just doubled your labor, right? You've just doubled the amount of time that it would have taken you had you otherwise gotten rest. In fact, that rest that you would have taken, you would have been able to get yourself some rest and do the work and still be completed in almost the same amount of time. Right? There's no situation anywhere in the world where they recommend that you, being tired, go up against a fresh opponent. It's always the other way around. They're always suggesting that, you know what, when your opponent is tired, when your opponent is exhausted, that's when you attack him. Because one, if he's strong enough to respond, you know, well, one, he won't be strong enough to respond. He'll be tired. Two, if he is strong enough to respond, he'll make mistakes. And if he doesn't make mistakes, he won't be alert enough to foresee every challenge, every attack, every combination that you have prepared for him. Whereas, even if he might withstand your attack, he also may not be able to launch an attack of his own, which means his best position is always going to be defensive, in which case you can attack relatively freely with little consequence to yourself. So here it is, today's article entitled Emotional Exhaustion When Your Feelings Feel Overwhelming. I think the counterpart is going to love this article. It's probably written more geared to them than any of us. It was written by Jolene Hansen, published 19 April 2024, some time ago. It is from the Mayo Clinic. Their website is right there, along with the link for the actual article. Turning on the news or opening a newspaper to see local and world events can bring out strong emotions and stresses. In addition to social unrest happening around the world, you may face personal challenges from high pressure job, financial stress, or poverty, being a caregiver, parenting, grieving the death of a family member or a friend, or chronic illness. Man, people are dealing with a lot. Listen to that. You are facing pressure from work, financial stress because you're broke, you probably got too many kids, being a caregiver, parenting, there you go. Death of a family member, which can happen anytime, or one of a friend, or a chronic illness. Even worse, you could be in the romance or with a counterpart. Now imagine dealing with all of this and being in the romance wars with one of these counterparts. Which you're probably going to do, and I should probably just mention, get yourself a vasectomy, freeze your sperm, get a vasectomy. Let's not get carried away and forget what we are here to do. In fact, if it wasn't for the vasectomy itself, I don't know if I would have had even the eagerness to begin this platform or to carry it on. But knowing that I'm onto something here. I really know that I'm onto something here, even though other people don't want to discuss it. I will happily discuss it. So I just don't want to miss the opportunity to discuss a vasectomy and wake up and find out that somebody else has taken up my position, right? It's not a position, I understand, because not everyone is competing for it. However, being the sole person discussing the issue as openly as I am, you've left it up to me to be the authority in this issue, and I'm going to be taking full advantage of that. So, even like on a down day or like a bad day, I'm still motivated to come out here because, it's just me. And I can say whatever I want about a vasectomy, and there's nobody out here to disagree. So, Thank you. It says, you may wonder what's next or what else you can endure. With the sense of relentless struggles, you may begin to feel unwell and irritable. Man, what are you people going through? And struggle to concentrate and lack of motivation. Well, I don't struggle with that. The vasectomy motivates me. It's truly an endearing thing, this vasectomy and this platform. They go together so well, in a way that really is worth mentioning. It's worth giving time to discuss it, and just listening to all the things that people are going through emotionally that are going to just cause them exhaustion. How can you not be tired? How can you be going through all these things that they've just discussed right here in the introduction? How could you not be tired? You know, relentless struggles. Just listen to that. That sounds like being in the romance wars, right? You feel unwell and irritable and struggle to concentrate, and you lack motivation. That sounds exactly like exhaustion. Like, I'm not a person who struggles for motivation. I'm self motivated, right? And like, again, I feel like I'm on to something here, so I'm gonna push on and see where this goes, right? So that's motivation enough. But if you're in these romance wars and you are struggling, you're probably on your own, man. You're probably on your own, and you probably do need a rest. You probably need a rest from relationships as a whole, if I have to be honest to you. um, it says here, you may not even know what is causing these feelings. You can feel trapped or stuck. You're emotionally exhausted. Yeah, yeah. When you start feeling irritable, right? Like, I know I sound like I'm an irritated person, right? But my irritation has like a limitation. It only comes when I'm describing certain characteristics and behaviors of certain individuals, particularly these counterparts and these knee benders who, yeah, I'll admit, maybe kind of irritate me just a little bit. But it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. Like, I think what they're talking about here is when the irritation is a little bit more personal. It's not like descriptive, which is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be informative. What is emotional exhaustion? It says here, when stress from adverse or challenging events in life occur continually, oh my God, continually, you can find yourself in a state of feeling emotionally worn out and drained. This was not me. I'm not having a situation where I'm facing adverse or challenging events in life occurring continuously. It was really for me that I had a couple of days that were actually pretty longer than I thought. And while I'm a person of a certain type of stamina, those extra steps really added up, along with the workout and the piling errands that needed to be done, and then the video and so forth and so forth, which is not really a problem, because I'm pretty good with time management. But what good is time management if you're already tired, right? And I was just already tired. But this sounds like you're being defeated. This sounds like a cry for help, man. It's not like a desire for a day off. You know, let me take a day off to go run some errands, and then I'll be back in the swing of things. No, no, no. This is this is stress from adverse or challenging events in life that are occurring continuously, non-stop. This is called emotional exhaustion. Okay, where you find yourself in a state of feeling emotionally worn out and drained, like when you lose patience and that kind of thing. For most people, emotional exhaustion tends to build up slowly over time. Sure, I can understand that. Emotional exhaustion includes emotional, physical, and performance symptoms. Yeah, I mean, I wonder, did mine build up over time? I think all exhaustion kind of builds up over time. That's sort of unavoidable. But I was just hit with a wave of tiredness that was unusual, even for me, right? Even for me. But a day or two of rest, I was, back into the swing of things, you know. But I don't think this is anything close to what they're describing here. I mean, this is like when you've had it, man. This is like when you've just had it with life, you know. Um, and it's always like this. It's always like this. You have to understand, as a vasectomite, we might go through similar things, but I'll experience those things in a much smaller and milder way. You take the full hit of the whole thing all at once, and then it drains you over time, right? It just wears you out over time. That's really the plight that knee benders sign up for, right? You take the full hit and then it weighs you over time. Then other people's problems become your problems. When I felt tired, which is what motivated this video. I mean, I wasn't all the way down. I didn't, you know. I wasn't defeated. I wasn't wiped out. I wasn't about to let it all go. You know? I hadn't hit the moment where I'm like, okay, yeah, that's it. I'm tired of talking about these vasectomies, because I'm not. I really wanted to continue, but I suppose I just didn't have the voice. The voice of the vasectomite wasn't voicing. I don't know if that's voicing. Is voicing a verb, an action word? I don't know. So next we have some symptoms: physical, emotional, and performance symptoms of emotional exhaustion. So Jolene gives us a few of those symptoms. Now she starts with the emotional symptoms. Now I don't think I suffered any of these, right? So I'm not just making this about me. I'm just, we're having a social discussion. I'm trying to be relatable. I could just make it completely academic and then just come down on you for your apathy. But no, I will not. Let's be relatable. Of course, I didn't suffer any of these, right? So I didn't suddenly feel anxious. I just wanted to take a nap. But you may feel emotionally anxious. You may feel some apathy, like you just don't want to do this anymore. You don't care. You might feel depression, which is described as a long, enduring, deep sadness. Definitely not me. I just wanted to take a nap and run some errands. Were you feeling hopeless? Right? So if you're feeling hopeless, this may be you. This is actually, I'm just not going to make this about me. This has nothing to do with me. I'm going to be going through all these things and just realize that I'm not feeling any of them. I'm going to do it like this. So if you are feeling these things, then perhaps you, Mr. Kneebender, might be feeling emotionally exhausted. Are you feeling anxious, apathetic, or depressed? Do you have sense that you are hopeless? Do you feel powerless or trapped, unable to make movements of your own? You see, this isn't me. I just went to run errands. I didn't feel powerless or trapped, just needed to stretch my legs. But if you're in these romance wars, and you have those nagging counterparts, or you are a counterpart and you have an incompetent knee bender, somebody with no emotional intelligence, who can't read your mind or sense your mood, right? Who doesn't want to nurture a relationship, right? Or any kind of that madness, right? So you might be feeling powerless or trapped. Irritability absolutely comes with all of that. You suddenly, when somebody just walks into a room and they suddenly just annoy you, like their presence annoys you. This happens to me all the time with counterparts, but I'm the master of the deceptive arts. So I just act differently to what I should be feeling. So if I know that you're annoying me, I'll just act happy to receive your annoyance, right? Oh, you're irritating me. How lovely. How insightful. Oh man, this is so different. I've never had a counterpart irritate me before. Oh, you're a different kind of counterpart. That's how I'll respond to that nonsense, right? When they're trying to irritate me. But this might make you exhausted, right? Suddenly you lack focus and you are forgetful, right? Is this you? Are you lacking focus and forgetful? I did, though I have to be honest. I wasn't forgetful, but I was making mistakes. And yes, exhaustion did remove focus. So it was like I lacked a certain sharpness, right, in my focus. Like I can be focused and concentrate on issues for hours and hours on end. That's never been a problem of mine. But there's a certain sharpness and attention to detail that I have when I am at my regular focus that I lacked, right? So I still had some focus, but I missed that sharpness, you know, that razor sharp edge. Nervousness, not something that I struggle with. Not something that I struggle with. I just started on this platform and I haven't been nervous not once. I've said exactly what I wanted to say the way that I wanted to say it. And I've stolen plenty of ideas too. I'm not even gonna come out here and claim to be original. The only original thing I think I've said is the combination of freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy. Effectively, I'm just trying to tie this up to every other philosophy. But what my heart really desires is just to be destructive and dismantling. If I have to be honest, I would have no idea in dismantling every other philosophy and putting it up against mine, right? But that would be rude. That would be rude, you know. And that would make me unfriendly. So better to just sort of just hold my own lane, have some regular conversation, and then throw in that vasectomy every once in a while. Make it the cornerstone of all of our vasectomy, of all of our discussions, and also leave I don't want to press you too hard. That's why you get to freeze your sperm, right? And that's why I did it this way. I'm really not an indecisive person. When I decided I was getting the vasectomy, I knew I wanted only that. The freezing of the sperm wasn't just to dissuade my own, you know, concerns, but also to be able to dissuade yours, right? So, whatever concerns you may have about reproductive rights, reproductive quality, I wanted to be able to dissuade yours and say, no, no, no. I also froze my sperm. I can still have children, but I don't think I suffer from nervousness at all. I don't even have a problem talking in front of a crowd of strangers, right? It's all really about preparation. You prepare what you're going to say and you come in and you say it. If they like it, they'll clap. If they don't, they'll just sit there. You just say thank you and walk off. All right? Somebody heard something. And then tearfulness, yeah, this might be you. Me, not so much. I just needed a nap and I went to run some errands, you know. I think I grabbed a cup of coffee. I grabbed a cup of coffee, and that was it. That was it. I don't usually like going, out buying things like that, but to have the human experience, I suppose I thought let me indulge in one of these things, So I bought an expensive cup of coffee. I could have made my own at home, but I bought one anyway. I drank it. It's delicious, It's good enough, I suppose. Wasn't too sweet, wasn't too bitter. Can't complain. Physical symptoms include, so this is what happens to you physically. Perhaps this may have happened to me. Fatigue, yes, I felt this. So I had more physical symptoms than emotional ones. Yes, I was fatigued. I was absolutely tired. Right? I really just wanted to sit and do nothing for some time. And I did, right? But I couldn't bring myself to sit and do nothing. when I knew I had other things that required my time and my effort and my energy, but wouldn't require too much of me. So I went and did those things. Keep the wheels turning, as they say, right? Headaches, did I have a headache? No, I didn't have a headache. But sometimes I do. Sometimes, if it's hot enough and I'm tired enough, I might feel a mild headache coming on. But I'm not usually one to suffer too many headaches. In truth, I just keep painkillers and headache tablets around. So when I do, I can deal with that effectively. It's not the thing to suffer from, man. Headaches, really? I don't know about headaches. Like I thought as a species, I really think humanity has overcome headaches. Really, I think we're past headaches, man. You should just have headache tablets in your house. Like I'm not a person who has a lot of medicine, right? I don't keep around a lot of medicine. I suppose I don't keep medicine around because I don't need it very much. But if I did, I would. But one of the things that I have around are headache tablets. I mean, if you're a human being in 2026 and you're still suffering headaches, that's low, man. I mean, that's low. I'm not even talking about you as a person. I'm talking about us as a species. If we cannot overcome headaches, which I thought we overcame like 100 years ago, if we are still doing that, I don't know, man. It just removes the hope that I have for humanity. It just removes that hope. It's one thing for the headache to come onto you, but to then let it endure. You know what? You can't pop two tablets. No, man. No, 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 no. I'm not accepting headaches. A lack of appetite, the opposite for me. I had too much appetite. You know, maybe it was just I wasn't eating enough. I did eat. I did eat a little bit more. I'm usually trying to eat a certain amount to watch myself, but I ate more. I ate a little bit more, so I had more appetite than what I usually do, but not too much. Not too much. I had like I ate to my limit, which I never do. It's not a vast limit. Like I don't have tremendous limits. I'm not gonna eat three hamburgers, that kind of thing, but I could eat like you know, 2/3 of a hamburger, and be okay. I'm trying to really watch my limits. I know I could eat more than that as a grown man. I know I could eat more than that, but I know that after 2/3 of a hamburger, I'm pretty satisfied. I'm all right. Some of these hamburgers are huge, man. Say what you want. Maybe you say, oh, well, I can't finish a hamburger. I mean, these aren't hamburgers. These aren't your grandfather's hamburgers. That's what people aren't telling you about this food. This is not your grandfather's hamburger. Your grandfather's hamburger was tiny, and he paid 25 cents for that hamburger. You know what I mean? Now you're getting a $20 hamburger, and it's something to behold. If you had to take the hamburgers we have now to back in the day, 100 years, 150 years, 200 years, when they called cars automobiles, you'd shock them. You'd shock them with the flavor, the sauce, the ingredients. You know, you using ingredients that they didn't even have, right? So for you to not be able to complete a full hamburger, I don't know. I mean, it's to each his own. To each his own. Yes, I can. Have I ever not finished a hamburger? No. I've nailed every hamburger down, but I am aware that 2/3 in, I was already full. But I was like, I'm not gonna be conquered by a hamburger. I'm taking it down. I'm taking it down. And I did. And I did, like a pro. Nobody even noticed anything was happening. It was smooth as a whistle. However, did I need those extra calories? Probably not. Number four is nausea or an upset stomach. No, I wasn't nauseous. Didn't have an upset stomach. But maybe you can. If you're emotionally unsound, it can affect your stomach. I don't know if being emotionally unsound has ever affected my stomach. Or being angry, I've ever been angry to the point where I'm like, I can't eat. I'm so angry. I could always grab something. Eating not eating was never a problem that I had. You know, eating too much is my problem. If I'm eating fit, I can just keep going. But yeah, those days are just behind me now. You know, in truth, I just know better. I'm not saying I know better than you or anybody else. I'm saying, in terms of looking after my health, I know what works. There was a time when I didn't, and I didn't know better, and I functioned in certain ways. But I'm not, I'm not, I'm not gonna do something that's gonna give me an upset stomach. I won't even eat something that I'm not sure about. I don't care who made it or how hard they worked or how much they're trying to impress me, right? Um, some things I might be curious about, I'll try it. But if I'm like not sure about it, then I'll just tell you I'm not sure about it. Poor sleep, emotional problems can lead to poor sleep. This is not something I had. I had fantastic sleep. I was out like a light. I literally closed my eyes and blinked, and it was the next day, right? That sleep went right past me. So I didn't have these problems of poor sleep. And in honesty, I don't really have poor sleep. One of the things that I've done is practice sleep. People think you should be able to just sleep normally, just close your eyes and go. I find that that didn't work for me. I needed to practice. I needed to make sleeping a skill, like any other. And it's like sleeping is like exercise and eating healthy. You don't really feel the benefits right away. You feel the benefits over time. Unhealthy eating, you sort of feel the benefits very quickly. In a few days, you start to put on weight if you continue to eat unhealthy. Healthy eating, you can have a few days with absolutely no difference in your weight. And that might sound like a defeat if you're trying to lose weight, but it's better than gaining weight. Having no difference in your weight is better than having that scale tick up. Sore muscles or muscle tension, this was absolutely me. I definitely had muscle tension all the way up and down my legs, right? Even to my ankles, I had to twist them around just to get them to loosen up and whatnot. Stretch the calves, stretch the quads. I had to do a lot of stretching, you know. And the stretching helped, but it didn't remove the tiredness, right? It removed some of the tension, but not the tiredness. And there was that soreness in the muscles, so I just stopped and took a day off. But yeah, I think it may have very well been the exercise as well, you know. Without the exercise, work is just work. It really makes no difference. But with the exercise, you do get tired. You do get tired. So you should be obsessed with exercise, guys. You should be obsessed with exercise. You should be obsessed with eating healthy. You should be obsessed with looking good. You should be obsessed with monitoring yourself. Really, you should be. And I'm not saying that so you can join me in my obsessions. I'm saying this is how you achieve success, right? This is how you achieve success in things, anything. But really, in this particular thing, in health, physical health, looking good, staying healthy, staying in shape, you really need to obsess with that. Every person should be obsessed with how their body looks. It's the most important thing you can be obsessed with, right? But other than that, if you want to be successful in anything, you have to be obsessed. You have to be obsessed with the process. You have to be obsessed with the outcome. You have to be obsessed with the results over time, and the differences and what those differences mean, right? This is how you achieve success. And some soreness, some muscle soreness will come with that. You keep exercising over time, eventually your muscles are going to feel it. You're going to need to rest those muscles. You're going to need to recover those muscles. But once you become obsessed with it, motivation really goes out the window. The lack of motivation goes out the window. You're filled with motivation and you just want to know more and more, right? And you want to know, how can I do this? How can I improve that? How can I change this to make, the exercise better, more efficient, and whatnot? And that's how you get better. Suddenly you look better, you feel better, and you're maintaining that look over time, which is what you really want. Nothing worse than doing all that work to lose weight and look good just for you to pick it up again in a few months, right? And that's just like, that's sad. And that's happened to me too. I've lost weight and then put it back on. And, that made me lose motivation. And then losing it again made me more motivated. The more I lose, the more motivated I am to keep it down. Performance symptoms include, so you might have some performance in symptoms: difficulty completing daily tasks for responsibilities. My exhaustion came after I had completed my daily tasks for responsibilities. So that wasn't so much a problem for me. But I can imagine if you're having problems emotionally, then this would affect your ability to complete daily tasks and other responsibilities. Failing to meet deadlines, again, I had the opposite problem. I had met the deadline and it was meeting those deadlines. There was a combination of things that really had piled up over a few days. Some because of me, others because of other people, and most of them were because of circumstances. Like things had started before like a certain program was ready or a certain device was ready. So people had to really improvise, right? You had to improvise around that thing. And that improvisation in order to get the same product, the same quality at the same time with the same results, waiting for the same customers and clients. That took a lot. That took some extra doing. It took extra effort and extra work and extra energy in a short period of time. But the deadline was met. Thank goodness. That would have been a catastrophe, missing the deadlines, right? But that was the issue. It wasn't just a normal thing. Like there were things that had to be done twice, and not because of a duplication, but because we had to do it one for this one and another for that one, and each one needed their own one. When that was fine to do, except the one needed to be done the previous week and the other one needed to be done the following week, but they wanted everything to be, they wanted that outcome to happen now, right? And people were like, but, when we're not only, you know, ahead of schedule, we're completely out of time. And it was, you know, terrible. But it all came together, I suppose. Or if it hasn't, we'll find out. Increased absence? No, this wasn't my problem. My problem was too much presence, right? Trying to be in too many places at the same time. This is the problem with the bachelor life, by the way. There's only one of you, and you can only be in one place at one time, sadly. And even if you think you can, the internet allows us to be in multiple places at the same time. It doesn't. It just allows you to send information from two different places, but you send that information from exactly where you are. Sadly, I can't be making videos, on jet skis. Yes, I can, but that means very little talking. And I'm also not going to be walking around rambling at my phone in public, right? Like it's one thing when you got people interacting in your recording and the people are interacting in your recording. But if it's just me sort of walking around, talking about counterparts in the middle of the mall, no, that's not happening. So, increased absence, I think this can affect a lot of people who are emotionally unsound. You start missing work because you're heartbroken. That kind of thing, start losing money because you're heartbroken. That can be problematic. Isolation and avoidance. Hey, this is my way of life. Isolation and avoidance is my way of life. So, and I don't think that came from exhaustion or tiredness. Yeah, the isolation and avoidance is what allowed me to recover, right? Being able to come home and chill and the house is quiet and it's clean, you know. And anything that starts up because I started it. So I'm starting the kettle, I'm starting the stove, I'm starting the microwave. You know what I mean? I'm turning on the air conditioner and that kind of thing. So isolation and avoidance allowed me to rest, but for you, it might be an indication of stress. It might be an indication of conflict. The counterpart who loves to talk. Let me tell you something. You think I love to talk? The counterpart loves to talk. Because when I'm done with these videos, I'm sort of just going to be sitting around thinking about the next topic, watching other videos. The counterpart, they go from 2 hour conversation to 2 hour conversation to 2 hour conversation. And it all ends up being about their feelings, right? It all ends up being about their feelings and how their feelings are always wrong, which is true most of the time. Most of the time. Lower workplace commitment. I suppose if you're having emotional conflict somewhere, that energy has to be drawn from somewhere. So you're not. The situation is relatable because who hasn't felt exhausted, right? Who hasn't felt exhausted, especially from work, especially from a demanding day of work, and that day turned into it turned into like a 10 hour day. It was a normal day that turned into a 10 hour day. There was no need to even do overtime. The overtime was included, and there's usually like a break between like the work schedule and then the overtime, right? And then the overtime shift is usually very simple and easy. But today there was, I mean, not today, on exhaustion day, there was just none of that. It was like all the way through. And then I thought, oh, let me do some exercise, and I just didn't have it in me. So I just decided, what, let me take care of this other load here that just seems to be piling up. But yeah, workplace commitment, it'll do you like that. It'll do you like that. You gotta live for the job, man, or at very least live for the money. Gotta live for something, right? Something other than, those family values, which aren't a real thing, by the way. Performing work duties more slowly. Yeah, this was me, right? I discovered that by feeling tired, things that I could usually do with relative ease and at a high speed were taking more than twice as long and still being done with mistakes. So eventually, it was just better to take a rest. But I'm really indicating like physical exhaustion, but it's the irony of what I said, how physical exhaustion can affect you in almost other areas too. Lack of focus, forgetfulness. I experienced that despite not feeling other things, and despite not feeling tearful, right? I wasn't crying or anything like that. But seeing how I faced the physical issues and many of the performance issues or symptoms, it does indicate very clearly that various types of exhaustion can affect other types of your existence, and they will, and they absolutely will. For our final slide, it says, how is emotional exhaustion treated? So, all I did was take a few days off and rest, right? And recover in a serious way. I really just lazed around and didn't do absolutely nothing for a few days to recover, right? I did go to work and such things, but I just came home and just rested for another day, just to make sure that I would be back to my optimal best. I might take another one in a week or so, right? Just to recalibrate is the word I'm looking for. It says you can address emotional exhaustion by recognizing the stresses you are able to minimize or eliminate. So yeah, you gotta like bring down some of the things that are stressing you. For me, it was just resolving the issue at work in a permanent way. So we didn't just patchwork the thing. Ultimately, what also took longer was just doing the thing properly. We had to just set it up properly in a permanent way, that it doesn't just function this way, but it's also flexible for the tasks that we wanted to do and are planning to do in the future. And that was the moment. Like we could have either done it in such a way that we'd have to redo it again later, just doubling the work, or we could just do it and get it done, right? But you just need to fix the problems. You have to also understand that this is a work issue, and it was quite simply fixed with, effort and some money and some time. But relationship issues, emotional issues are generally not fixable. You're not going to resolve many of those issues, right? So you can minimize them, but you won't be able to eliminate them. When you're unable to change a stressor because it's out of your control, it's crucial to focus on the present moment. In the present, many neutral or positive events are occurring. When you focus on these types of events, it gives you perspective about what's happening around you. This sounds a lot like daydreaming. There's a lot of things happening, and sort of just look at those other things instead of focusing on the problem. I did the opposite. I focused on the problem, I focused on the cause of the exhaustion. We fixed the problem, and I took a break. And it seemed to have worked out. But if you're dealing with these emotional issues, you might just want to focus on the moment and realize that what this person is saying doesn't mean anything. And when it's all done, when it's all said and done, what they want to do is not going to amount to anything either, right? So, yeah. When you are focused on these type of events, it gives you a perspective about what's happening around you. This allows you to shift your focus away from the stressors, so now you're ignoring your counterpart. Your body often interprets stress as a threat to survival. When this happens, your brain releases stress hormones throughout your body, further contributing to your experience of emotional exhaustion. Okay, so this is what I think I was describing, but in a different way. I said that the exhaustion led to tiredness, which led to more exhaustion, which led to more tiredness. And here, what they're explaining is that when you are stressed, right, or exhausted, your body releases hormones, stress hormones throughout your body, which further contributes to your experience of emotional exhaustion. Right? So the exhaustion does cause more tiredness, which leads to further exhaustion. Right? So it's good to see that my assessment, even though I use different words, my assessment is more or less comparable to that of Jolene. When you're able to follow on small neutral or positive events, your brain learns that a threat is not as dire as it may first seem. The amount of stress hormone released is decreased, and you're able to feel more emotionally balanced. So, okay, I can respect that. When I rested, I did feel that, when I decided that I was resting, I did feel less tense. I was still tense in terms of muscle, but my body went into like a kind of a relaxed mode. I was more chilled, more easy, a little bit more flexible. I even took longer than I would have. That coffee was an indication of that. I was like, oh, let me just buy a coffee, whatever, right? Suddenly I had that whatever attitude because the stress, the tension decreased, all right? And I was able to feel more emotionally balanced. That's one thing I'll admit to, is that resting did bring me back to a more emotionally balanced state. Other strategies to reduce emotional exhaustion include eating healthy, a healthy, balanced diet. Sure, I do try to maintain a balanced diet. Well, not really a balanced diet. I try to maintain a deficit, right? So I'm balancing that as a diet. But I found that eating a little bit more, maybe getting some more vitamins and nutrients in my body in a way that I'm not usually getting them, maybe that helped me. But I think just eating as a practice made me feel good. Just consuming something made me feel good. I understand, to a certain extent why people, they say you eat your feelings. But I think I wasn't just tired, I was also hungry, right? It had been a really, really long day with few breaks and, very little to eat and very little to drink also. So I wasn't just tired, I was exhausted and I was dehydrated. I just needed a genuine and general good day's rest. Number two, eliminating or minimizing the stressor when possible. I think we talked about that, right? Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Work stress, not a problem, but relationship stress, yeah, that could be a problem. Exercise, this is only good unless the exercise is the cause of stress. In my case, I think the cause of exhaustion. In my case, I think the exercise, over exercising, may have contributed to that. Getting adequate sleep, I definitely got adequate sleep. I was out like a light. I was out like a light just instantly. And I slept earlier, like 15 minutes earlier. So not only did I run some errands, I was able to come home and still be in bed a few minutes earlier, right? But if you are having those emotional problems, you're definitely not getting your sleep. Identifying the challenging, unhelpful thought and replacing them with balanced thoughts fix the problem. But if you're in a romance war, even if you do fix the problem, the counterpart is just going to come up with another problem. And those problems are just going to get worse and worse, until you eventually leave them. So, just leave them. Just leave them. That's the positive thought you should have. Let me just leave this person and go live my life. Practicing mindfulness to engage in the present moment. I suppose in the present moment, I was quite mindful to realize that I needed to rest, right? And you should do the same. When you're in these moments in your romance wars, you must realize that you probably just need a rest. You just need to let them go, let them live their lives and live your own. Be mindful, man. Be aware. Know thyself, I say. Know thyself, right? Number seven, talking with a mental health professional if you have signs of emotional exhaustion. They can help you sort through the causes and symptoms of your experiencing to determine a plan. The symptoms you're experiencing to determine a plan that will help you regain a sense of well being. In truth, many people know exactly where the stress in their lives is coming from. And if you don't know, I can tell you right now, it's coming from your wife and your kids. It's some of it is coming from work, but mostly it's coming from your family. Your obligations and your responsibilities, the things that are weighing you down, that you believe you have to do and you have to fund and you have to pay for and you have to support, which you do by law, otherwise they throw you in jail. But you could just freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy and prevent all of that altogether from happening to you, right? And prevent the exhaustion that they describe and discuss here, right? So while I may have had some of this experience, I can tell that it's completely mild and completely different to what many people are experiencing out there in terms of emotional exhaustion. And if you are experiencing emotional exhaustion, talking about it won't fix the problem. Just leave her, dump her, start a new relationship if you wish. Get a vasectomy first, right? That will bring your stress levels all the way right down. So go ahead, freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy. This is the end of the article as well as the end of the video. I'd like to thank you for your time and your attention. And I'd like to say that I appreciate it and I always will. Please remember to like the video if you have enjoyed the comment. Please share it with someone that you think will enjoy this content. And then finally, if you so choose, you can feel free to leave a comment to remain part of the conversation. And I will do my best to respond to every comment. Thank you again for your time. I'm the Bachelor Supreme. I'm the Ancient One. And I'm wishing you a wonderful, restful day.